The recording, please. Thank you. This webinar is it's a collaboration between the SBA Columbus District Office, the Ohio University PTAC, and the Ohio Department of Development. So it takes quite a bit of effort for the training and the Ohio Business Matchmaker to come together. So hopefully this training, and there's another one this afternoon at 1 o'clock on doing business with the state, will help to get your business prepared for the matchmaker. You are welcome to ask a question during the presentation. I will be monitoring the chat. And if all of you could mute your lines, please. I love to hear the voices, but not right now. Okay, we just need to get the training started. So you can send me a question in the chat, and I will read the question to our presenters at an appropriate time. Usually I don't like to interrupt them mid-sentence. I'll find a time when I can just go ahead and ask them that question. So the recording will become available on the Ohio Business Matchmaker website, and I'll put the website in the chat, or Abby, I see that you're on. If you could put the website in the chat, that is where you will find a list of all of the webinar trainings, both the ones that are already completed and the ones that are coming leading up to the event in case you would like to attend another one. They are all free and they all require their own registration. So without further ado, I will introduce our speakers for today. We have two speakers. We have Todd Packer. Todd Packer is an advisor with the Ohio Small Business Development Center at Kent State University's College of Aeronautics and Engineering, which provides no-cost consulting to Northeast Ohio small businesses. He has experience identifying and capturing government opportunities for research and development with a particular focus on advanced manufacturing and innovative technology. He recently achieved foundation level certification from the Association of Proposal Management Professionals, and he's excited to be part of the diverse innovation ecosystem in Ohio that is supported by the U.S. Small Business Administration. He's honored to work with the dedicated professionals of Ohio's Procurement Technical Assistance Program, including Rich Delisio. And that's a good segue to our second presenter, Rich Delisio. So Rich Delisio has served in the Ohio Procurement Technical Assistance Program since 2009 as a procurement specialist. His government contracting coaching includes serving 10 counties. So that would be Ashland, Carroll, Wayne, Summit, Stark, Jefferson, Holmes, Richland, Tuscarawas, and Medina, with over 200 clients. The OUPTAC program emphasizes the importance of developing business relationships and resources to understand and successfully obtain contracts in public procurement. The Ohio University PTAC team serves 82 counties with over 900 Ohio companies that were awarded $1 billion in contracts during 2020. Rich received both his MBA and BSBA from Youngstown State University, and he has over 25 years of procurement management experience, 12 of which he directed the material management purchasing department at Youngstown State. So very good presenters today. There's also multiple members from the Ohio University PTAC team on the call today. Just as you have questions, if you can ask them in the chat, and I will read them to our presenters and hopefully get your questions answered. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Todd and Rich. I'm not sure which one of you is going to be presenting first.
I'll go first. As long as Sharon, my boss, doesn't mute me, I'll go first. So good morning, everyone. My name is Rich Delisio. I am the PTAC counselor in Akron, Ohio. Great to be with you this morning. Todd Packer is also going to be presenting with us. Todd and I have done 3 or 4 presentations together, and I think it's very helpful. And Todd's too modest. His background, he worked for companies that did government contracting very strongly, Mainsail up in Cleveland, He also worked with a prime contractor, Megit, which gives him a great diverse background in looking at contracting from different perspectives. Always so first, I'd like to go through a little. Oh, my slides aren't working. You
Yeah,
guys see
I lost you for just a second. I don't know if anyone else did. I can see you now,
Yeah.
though.
Well, my screen's freezing. That's not good. Wait a minute.
I can see the presentation still.
Yeah, but I can't move it.
Okay, it just, all right, it looks like it's
All right.
moving now.
Okay, sorry, folks. All right, here we go. Here we go quicker. All right, so this is the basic PTAC acknowledgement. And I definitely have to use the acknowledgement because I'm going to talk a lot about what I think is important through my experiences. Here's the Ohio Business Matchmaker link. If you don't have it, we're presenting it for you right now because this is what we're leading up to. And we find these programs, especially the one, the Ohio Business Matchmaker, vital to understanding and developing relationships in the federal market, especially. Here's a map of our Ohio University PTAC. We service 62 counties. I think my bio had it wrong. We have 62 of the 88. In an office up in Summit County. I'm fortunate to be up there, and I have a lot of great companies in my 10 counties Ohio team, but they are not managed by Ohio University. So that's really, it's mainly that's to let you know if you are not in our counties, you register in a different place. But we talk on a regular basis, almost daily. Someone in part of the Ohio PTAC team is going to talk to someone else because of the information, the research we do, and the assistance we're trying to offer to our small business crowd. So that's very important that we do that. And we also think that's important for you as small businesses to utilize and develop resources. Here's our basic services, our bid match service. If you are not familiar with that, that is something that we find very useful to help companies identify where they belong, and also, of course, to bid on projects, programs, contracts that they can match up to. Bid preparation, we help you. We do a lot of one-on-one training, helping you find resources. We have research tools I'll explain later, certification assistance, and then training events like this. Our mission really is to get you procurement ready. I think that's very important. The resource development, we want you to think small, especially starting out. That first contract is going to be a small contract. As you develop relationships, as you develop capacity, partners, resources, you can go after larger contracts. But we think it's very important to really start out, and our job, and we take it very seriously, is to make sure that you have a good understanding, that you do the prep work, so when the opportunity presents itself to you, that you're ready. And if you're not ready, you may miss out, and it may not come around for another year or so. So I think it's important to understand that these small windows of opportunities take a lot of time and effort prior to them hitting the street, so to speak. This is our link to register. If you're not a member of the Ohio University PTAC and you're in our counties, we would welcome your free registration. Everything prepaid with your tax dollars, and we want to support you. The best way to do that is we know a lot about you and you stay in contact with us on a regular basis. And here's really what I'm going to focus on. The prep work, the research, recognizing where you belong, marketing development. We want you to be resourceful. We think you need to be fit. Again, thinking small, and then concluding with a little bit of, do I bid or not bid? Because I think that's very important. You're looking for small opportunities, and throughout your, especially early on, you want to make sure you are ready. And that's the case. You may not be ready for a bid and you don't want to, go after a bid or waste the time, or worst case, win the bid and you're not ready to act on it. I'm going to start with the, I'm going to start with the traditional view of, so government acquisition and government contracting, especially at the federal level, the word acquisition is used instead of buying. So I think that's just a simple understanding of where the culture change starts is in their language. But we think it's very important from the standpoint of what exactly is the government looking for, and everything has to be aligned to the best of your ability as a supplier. They're going to be able to pick whoever they want. And I think it's very important for you to understand that as you prepare. And again, you may have to go in as a subcontractor or starting out with a partner. And that track record, your track record and your partners is very important. Because you probably, if you blow your first shot, it's going to be very difficult to get back into the market, into the game. So we feel it's very important that you understand this starting out, that everything must be aligned correctly. And you need to look at small dollars from the standpoint of, let me show you what I can do. Let it be less of a risk, thinking on behalf of the contracting officer, the buying agent. Let it be less of a risk if they do business with me for the first time. Regardless of what I've done in the past, it's very important, again, to understand that you have this opportunity in front of you and you're able to meet it. Todd, you want to jump in here?
Certainly, Rich. Thank you. So just briefly, it is an honor to be here. I want to, before we dive in a lot of this, I just wanted to mention briefly that the SBDC at Kent State University's College of Aeronautics and Engineering, our geographic focus, 20 counties in Northeast Ohio, serve 100 plus clients annually, supported by SBA and ODOD, and hosted at Kent State. The College of Aeronautics and Engineering, our focus is on manufacturing, technology-based businesses and technological solutions for other businesses. And given the COVID pandemic, we are also available to support other SBDCs and folks in general. So this is a great opportunity to present on government contracting. So what I want to jump in at this point about is to really emphasize, as Rich is saying, the importance of recognizing your critical role in helping our nation succeed. The federal government depends on small businesses to help get services and materials to a wide array of uses to make our lives better. And so everyone has limited time and resources, and our goal is to help you be successful in these efforts. As Rich has highlighted, the right partner is critical. And our goal in general, and the opportunity that the Ohio Business Matchmaker event provides in particular, is to help you understand how you can be the best partner in terms of how you present what you offer to the government, and how you can find the right partner to begin or expand your procurement activities with. You'll hear a lot today about how to register and NAICS and Naics codes and PSC codes in a lot of detail, but fundamentally, it is about how you present the value you offer to the government as a customer, as you would the value you offer to any customer, using the language that will help the government purchase what you have to offer as easily and effectively through their procurement and acquisition processes. And so our goal is to present the details as well as to help you understand how this government contracting fits into your business development efforts, but fundamentally how you can present yourself as the right partner to the right government contacts and develop the right relationship.
And my screen freezed again. Okay. So one of the things in starting out, you really have to, when you start your research and recognize where you fit, you really have to limit your selection. We think 4 is a good number. Just be very specific in identifying what agencies, or it could be, it could just be a state agency, it could be a public university, a city, we're kind of mixing and matching, but really emphasizing the federal. But understand that where you match up based on what they buy, okay? And really what I tell my clients when they get started, I tell them, get a whiteboard, get 3 different colors of erasable markers, and you're constantly adjusting, you're constantly updating your searches, your paths, your resources, and this is going to help trigger in what direction you go. If you have not done it, if you haven't done the service or the product, you don't do it. Okay, don't waste anybody's time, or don't explain, well, I can do that, here's what I did that was similar. Be very specific in what you can do and what you cannot do. Okay, and if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. I think that's very important, especially starting out. Stay in your swim lane in what your business is. One of the things I think is also, and the government loves acronyms, and I'm going to give you one here. Be real smart, very specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely in what you're doing. And I think that's very important, that when you start searching, you know what they buy, you know how they buy, what contract vehicle do they use. And again, starting small, you may start locally, you may start regional. If your service, maybe you stay within 100 miles. That's okay. There's a lot of businesses, especially in Northeast Ohio, if you're up here where Todd and I are. But again, listen and learn. This website is a great starting point it's a government Google site, usa.gov. It'll help you with acronyms, just basics, how to do business with FEMA. You search there, you get that. The guidelines for FAR, which are the federal guidelines, or the state of Ohio guidelines, or ORC, Ohio Revised Code. You can do a lot of that information searching at that site. So it's very important to limit your selection start and then move forward. As you start looking into it, as you start meeting with your PTAC advisor, they can do research for you also. It's important to understand who matches up to what you have to offer.
And just to jump in, to remind folks that you are not alone in doing this. It is very easy to feel overwhelmed, like the picture that Rich is sharing of being buried in the possibilities. But please see that the PTAC program, the SBDCs, SCORE, SBA programs in general, Ohio Department of Development, have funded a lot of folks to help you do this. Many of the services are free, low cost, and the goal is to clarify, Rich is not highlighting limit 4 to just 4 opportunities. These are 4 customers that potentially purchase a wide array of services or products that you may offer. There is no shortage of potential contracts or purchasing arrangements you may have with the government, as Rich says, local, regional, federal. The goal is to help you manage the process in a way that you feel you are learning and it does not negatively impact your ability to grow your business. But please recognize that while we are offering, you'll see a variety of links and so forth. You'll hear a number of acronyms. Rich is already starting off with the FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulations, and ORC. It's easy to get overwhelmed. You are not alone. Feel free to reach out to these organizations to assist you throughout this process.
So one of my favorite starting points is the acquisition.gov, because of what it offers, as far as a research tool. The forecasting opportunities, again, they do some forecasting by the vehicle. They have COVID-19 resources, the small business offices, the OSDBU, the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization, is a great starting point. Those people are the ones that measure usage for that agency. Be a great person to get an understanding and see if you do fit. And again, it's good to have a relationship with them from that standpoint. One of the things I also think is important as a company is really to start with developing your own research questions. I mean, I think it's, how does that match up to what you're looking for, the questions and the interests you have, and we'll be talking more and more as we go through the slides of helpful hints that we hope that you utilize to help shape your questions. Another marketing research avenue that we find very helpful is for the veteran business outreach centers. The reason I'm highlighting the veteran information, two reasons. Number one, Veteran Affairs buys predominantly from veteran-owned businesses. So if you're a vet business, and we'll help you get certified, that's important to understand. That should be we think it should be one of your strongest starting points as far as an agency to inquire with. And also from the standpoint of Veteran Affairs and the veteran hospitals across the country. So if you're into medical services or products, we think that is also a good place for you to look at from that standpoint. Whether it's COVID related or not, it's very important, I think, to look at that section based on type of company you are, and also for the type of business and services. This slide talks of, it's really about subcontracting path. As a sub, you don't have the past performance. We're going to be talking about past performance all morning. Past performance is a reference point, and it's very critical and it's very important to the contracting officers. So we think that is something you should look at as far as, okay, I'm going to look at my path as being a sub. Okay, I have to find partners. I have to find opportunities that I can be a part of. I have to demonstrate that I have teamwork skills. I have to give examples of that. So again, think in terms of building resources, building partners, collaborative effort and environment. Build yourself a collaborative environment. When you're brainstorming, include industry experts, peers. Build these relationships and these resources with the idea of you can learn, and maybe 6-8 months down the road, you're going to be doing business with them.
And we do have a question, actually a couple.
Okay.
So one was a request to get the link for doing business with the state of Ohio this afternoon. I have that ready to go that I can put in the chat, Sharon, if you don't require like a pre-registration. So I can put that in the chat if that's okay. And the other thing is, what is the best way to engage with a prime as a potential sub?
Todd, you want to answer that from your Megit days?
Sure. Well, there are a few different strategies that you can consider, and the best way depends on where you are as a company and where you are in terms of your relationships to potential prime contractors. First off, what's very important is that you understand what you have to offer. In this presentation, and if you have not developed one already, a capability statement highlights your company's information, what you have to offer in a clear, concise way that both the government and key prime contractors will help focus you on what value you offer to them. So there are a few different ways. One is, reaching out to your network. Have you worked on projects? Do you have folks that you know either through professional associations you've been members of, or presentations you've attended where you have folks that there, or maybe a personal or professional network to contact someone connected to a prime? Major primes often do have small business liaison offices or individuals. You can identify these folks either on the particular Prime website or through a service like LinkedIn, where you are looking for the Prime and their small business liaison or contact. Many Primes will require small businesses to register as vendors. And this is, again, going back to Rich's point about identifying just a few. So in order to make sure that you're doing the best work you can leverage the PTAC services to identify, once you're clear about which areas you want to work in, which primes are connected to the agencies that you're targeting, so that you can narrow your prime search as well as your government agency search. So basic research, identifying the small business liaison, other contexts you may have, and then having a very specific value you would provide to the prime. And identifying, are there certain gaps in either a service that the prime offers, or has the prime offered, does the prime have a particular arena where you can fit in? Keep in mind, you don't necessarily have to just be a subcontractor to a prime that is tier 1, say a direct government prime. You starting out can also be a subcontractor to a subcontractor of a prime. So it's valuable to understand who else works with that prime, because you may have connections to them as well. And especially if you're starting small, it may make sense for you to be a vendor to an already approved vendor to a prime. And finally, it is learning as much as you can, and signing up for the prime's communication newsletters. Some primes actually will push information out to vendors of, for example, the SBIR program. Since the primes themselves are not able to apply to small business research programs, they may still be interested in the topics, and they will reach out to potential SBIR applicants and say, here are the people that are interested in this topic. So there are a few different ways that, because it's in the interest of primes to work with small businesses, and again, similar strategy, how can you help them make it easy to work with you? Accordingly, the kinds of things that help primes work with companies, having your capability statement up and ready, having a website, being able to be easily reached by key folks, and identifying the right person to talk to. And as we will identify going forward with government and prime, as well as yourself, don't waste people's time. Very specific questions, introduce yourself, and build this relationship. You may not find something right away. It may be periodically over time building the connections, but those are a few ideas, if those make sense.
They do. And Todd, there's a couple of follow-up questions to that. I think you partially addressed it. Are primes required to subwork to small businesses? And also, while we're on the SBA subnet slide, is there an Ohio website we can go to in order to search for approved vendors when looking for a prime in our industry?
So I'll address the first one, which is the idea that it depends on the government requirements for the particular award. So that's why, again, it's important to, when you're looking into this and you're looking at the awards, some awards mandate small business participation. Some even have set asides for veteran-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses. Sometimes that's not the case, but there still is value for a prime to have small business network or small businesses working with them. So it potentially depends on the contract. And some offices, as Rich mentioned, the VA is inclined to work with veteran-owned businesses. So even if your business does not fall into that category, you may want to identify a veteran-owned business that you can serve as a subcontractor to, if that's an agency of interest. Because the agency has an overall mandate to increase bids to those. So sometimes it is a requirement within a particular bid. Sometimes it's a directive of an agency. And sometimes it is open, but a prime may be particularly interested in building their network, presenting themselves. So it can vary. What is very clear is that if there is a requirement in the contract to a set aside for a particular business that you do not fit. So for example, if there is a set aside for a veteran-owned small business and you are not certified as a veteran-owned small business, please do not try to convince the government to do otherwise. The goal is that there is no shortage of opportunities. If you feel you are a good fit for that offering, reach out and partner with a veteran-owned business to collaborate or see other opportunities that would fit that. Again, your goal is to find the best fit. But I'll defer to Rich on the specific resources on the state side.
Yeah, so there is no, there's no state approved. No one's going to have an approved vendors list for subcontracting. What I mean by that is you have to do the research to find out who's doing the current contract or who does work for that particular agency, county, city, whatever it may be. And then you have to build that relationship, and you have to do, your own, checking on their track record. Do people like doing business with them? That again comes from knowing others in your industry, knowing others' reputation. Keep in mind your track record. You want to keep it clean, and you may not want to get involved in working with a contractor that doesn't pay on time, as an example, that doesn't pay their subs. But you have to be patient and persistent in all of this, searching and researching and building relationships. It takes time, it takes effort. And again, you have to have, something of value to add to make sure that you're going to be part of that team. And again, I think one of the best things to understand, the SBA does a great job in directing mentor protege programs. And the last couple of years, more of the emphasis has been on small business to small business. Okay, nothing wrong with doing business with the prime, but don't be afraid to look at other small businesses because it's going to be probably easier for you to understand, and you're going to have some of the same issues. Also, with the idea of on certain projects, one of you is going to take the lead, and the next project, the other company may take the lead. So again, that's very important to understand that and pursue it with that in mind.
And
Moving
Rick,
go ahead.
Yeah, we got like 3 more questions and we have to move on. Yeah. And they're kind of along the lines of what you two have been discussing. Is there a list of major contacts to primes anywhere? Another one, I just received my SDVO-SB designation last week. Is there a website where I can see primes that have not reached their SDVO-SB goal?
I'll be showing a Fedmine report later that will help.
Okay.
Right.
And then when calling a prime, what
that way we keep them interested and stay here the whole time. What was that? The last one?
That's right. Yeah. And a lot of these things that are coming through the chat are going to
good questions, though. They're good questions. But
yeah,
what was the last
absolutely.
one? The last one?
Yes. When calling a prime, what office or title of the specific person at the prime contractor who will handle government contracts?
I can hop in on that one, at least to start. One thing is that I very much hope that you are calling them after you have done your research. So do your research, have your capability statement prepared, have very specific ways that you can fit in. First off, I would say if you have any connection to the prime, whether it's through business relationship or your professional network, talk to that person first, regardless of their title, to kind of get a sense of who in the organization may be a good person to talk to. I would also encourage you, before you make your first call to the prime, to find out if you are connected to any other vendors that work with that prime. So do a little due diligence before you make the call. So maybe your first call is to a vendor, ideally a non-competitive vendor to that prime, to kind of talk about their experience. Like Rich said, how are they with payments? How long does it take to get into their system? So doing that kind of research. So that's kind of prep work before your call. Different primes have different types of titles for this, but typically a prime may have someone who's designated as a small business liaison. Sometimes these are described as like people, managers of strategic partnerships, or people that are charged in the acquisition office as responsible for small business vendors. So I would encourage you to look, once you identify a prime of interest and you have done your research, to search if you're looking for the kind of title, search for a title that has small business or partnership or liaison in the person's title. That in general may be directions. Some primes are large enough that they actually have offices that are designated to that. So you may be directed to a site on their website or a particular person. And then finally, pay attention to these kinds of events. Ohio Business Matchmaker presentations about purchasing. Whenever there is a prime representative presenting as part of these, that is typically a person that would be a point of contact, and their titles may vary as well.
Thanks, Todd. Okay, so the next screen, again, more market research. And we, at PTAC, we use this site a lot, these two sites a lot, helping people understand some of the categories based on Naics codes, pricing, catalog of products and services. And it gives you a lot of good information. This GSA e-library, it gives you a lot of good information to see if that is something you can match. It's kind of like a model to look at. And then I like to do the research on the individual company, seeing what type of contracts they have in the last 5 or 6 years with our Fedmine research tool, what agencies they're doing business with, how much of their contract work is on the GSA schedule, how much of it may be through Simplified Acquisition Threshold, SAT, which we'll be talking about soon. So it's very important. And the same thing with the bottom site, the calculated contract award labor categories, the ceilings, the rates, to understand what is being utilized across the country. Important information, a good starting point, a good research tool. Some companies, I shouldn't say some, 30 to 40% of companies on the GSA schedule don't do any business with the government, okay? So the GSA schedule is something to consider, but keep that in mind also. If you're going to make that commitment to get on the schedule, and we can help you with that, PTAC can help you with that, it's very important to understand that a lot of companies do not do business through that vehicle, okay? IT, very competitive, okay? Other areas like medical supplies, very competitive, okay? Everyone, a lot of companies pivoted to PPE, and now there's a lot of companies interested in trying to push that through to the government. They buy it, but again, they buy from who they want. But look at these traditional, this is a very traditional source of information. We also think you should look at non-traditional other sources of information. Todd mentioned LinkedIn earlier. Federal News Network, I share that with clients a lot. Develop Ohio is great for, they announce a lot of business development in the state. Those, a business development announcement is going to present an opportunity for some business. That's how I see it, okay? Maybe not yours, maybe someone that you may know of, but again, being able to share the information, that's one of the key components in the PTAC counselor's role. Share the information, make you aware of what we think is a good match for you or a good opportunity for you. We get information. Recently, Karen up in Cleveland sent out information to the Northeast Ohio, a contractor doing work at a prime doing work at NASA Glenn up in Cleveland was looking for some subcontracting. So we sent some information out to the companies that had the matching Naics codes. We get announcements from Veteran Affairs primes working with the VA that they will hold a industry day, which is kind of like a meet and greet type of thing, very similar to a matchmaker. And as Todd said, the matchmaker itself, the one that we're having November 17th and 18th, and there's also a tri-state one. There are primes there and there are agencies there. and understand their mission statement, understand that information prior to going into that event. Another place to look, marketing to DoD, and again, the small business officers on that link, ideal. The bottom link, Defense Innovative Initiative, that, from my understanding and dealing with small businesses, Boeing likes to pick their subs from that site, being involved in looking for new companies. So again, do some research. If Boeing is something that you think you match up to, start looking at the DII, okay? And again, looking at the agencies, talking to the small business. A lot of the small business officers will be at the event November 17th and 18th. Start that relationship then. Getting to the research tools that we've been talking about, and I'll share the at the end of the program, I'll share the recent report I did on Ohio companies for fiscal year 21. Ideal information for not just companies that are involved in contracting for years, but for new companies. The reason I like to do that, I'll run reports based on agencies, Naics codes, PSC codes, set-asides, whatever it may be. But I get contracting officers information, including some history and keywords. You know, the keywords that we like to use in the bid match search. The federal, sometimes the federal market may have a different take on language than the commercial side or the state and university markets. As funny as that may say, there may be one or two keywords that they utilize that trigger a business opportunity for you. So it's good to look at that. It's good to look at other companies when you're doing your research. Haystack is utilized for the manufacturing companies. Manufacturing companies look for their opportunities through DIBS. We do some price history, drawings, forecasting, et cetera, based on the national stock numbers, NSN numbers, which are 13-digit. And then finally, we offer the Govology webinars on a monthly basis. It is great federal training. I learn something every month, and from the standpoint of having information that you can learn, and it's free. It's from experts in the field that do a lot of research and a lot of working with companies that I think you could tap into, besides what you may have with your PTAC counselor relationship, your SBDC score, et cetera, et cetera. But take advantage of all those, as Todd mentioned earlier. And again, these webinars, if you're not getting them on the monthly, let me know, because I send them out monthly to my clients, and I'll be glad to add anyone that is not getting them that is a PTAC client.
And just an alphabet soup check-in. I know you'll be talking about it later, Rich, but do you want to just touch base on the Naics codes?
We have about 5 slides on that. I'm going to wait.
Okay, it's coming soon. An explanation of Naics codes.
Naics codes. Okay, so the SAM registration, one of the basic things that you must do, and that again is something that PTAC is trained to do. But in all, the SAM registration hurdles should be, in my mind, an Olympic event, because it is always changing. There's always, I don't go 3 days without a new client or a client that's having trouble in their account going inactive, or they can't get to their information anymore. But it's very important to understand it's annoying and frustrating, and it takes time. It's good to have your PTAC counselor walk you through it and look over your shoulder. That's ideal for a Zoom meeting. You're able to go walk through it, and you have your PTAC counselor watching you. The requirements, the Dun & Bradstreet number, federal tax ID, which is from the Secretary of State, and your bank account information, which is confidential. In 2022, next year, the unique entity ID will replace the D&B number. So as you're registering or updating your SAM registration, make sure you identify that ID number. If you if you're still under your 2021 expiration date, you may not have that unique entity ID number now. When you update your records this year, so if you're updating your record today, it will be good to 10/20/2022. You want to make sure you have a unique entity ID number in that update. So please keep that in mind. Your registration, the information, the state, Secretary of State information, the DMB information, and SAM must agree 100%. GSA, the same GSA that does the e-buy and the e-library catalogs, General Service Administration, is the one that manages the SAM registration. So again, make sure that you have that information available and it's 100% match. And again, the Naics codes, the PSC codes, federal supply codes for your capabilities are part of that SAM registration under the assertion section. Also, again, the small business goals, and this is very important from the standpoint of these are the socioeconomic categories that are utilized for measurable goals for all federal agencies. So it starts out right off the top, 23%. Okay, some do well above it. Some, Department of Energy probably does 5%. Okay, so you have to understand that, and again, do some research and see where you match up. What agencies are very good and very favorable for the woman-owned small business, disadvantaged 8A business, hub zone, or service-disabled vet. These certifications we can help you with. The SBA is also the main point of contact for the woman-owned, the disadvantaged 8A. The 8A contract is a 9-year contract for an emerging company or hub zone. You have to, your office, your location must be in a hub zone area, and 35% of your employees must also be living in a hub zone. We can help you put those applications together, and then you send them to the SBA, all done, of course, online. Service-disabled vets and veteran-owned, PTAC helps with that, help the CVE program. We will walk you through that. Very important to get that certification. It's utilized strongly by the Veteran Affairs, and the SBA will be taking over that certification also in the coming years. The bottom information is really the key there. I mentioned SAT earlier. Simplified acquisition threshold is $250,000. That has two very strong implications. Number one, simplified acquisition threshold means an agency can do 3 quotes, just like a commercial entity, and not go through the 7-week, 40-page formal bid. So they can, just provide a simple scope of work and go get 3 contractors. Very simple. It reduces administrative fee and expedites the process. Utilized a lot during COVID when they were constantly moving in different directions. That $250,000 amount is also the set-aside amount for small business and those socioeconomic categories that are listed on your screen right now. So that is step 1 in the fitness test. Look under $250,000. Look small. Your first opportunity as a prime is going to be below that dollar amount. Okay. If it's a $2 million contract, you're going to have large companies interested. They're going to have past performance that you don't match up to. But a small dollar contract, especially under 100,000, that's going to be of less risk for a contracting officer. And if you have good past performance in a different market, or you can convince them that you can do the work, or you may have a product or service where you're providing additional value for that $75,000, $100,000 contract, that is a good opportunity for you. So please keep that in mind. If nothing else out of today, stay under that $250,000 amount on your first look. staying in that category as far as staying fit, we want to make sure that you understand the opportunities presenting yourself. Micro purchase threshold, MMT, a credit card purchase between $3,500 and $10,000. Make sure you answer that question correctly in your SAM profile, that you accept credit cards. Okay. We think you should. Yes.
I'm sorry. A question, is there a place to search for the small set-asides? The projects below 250?
Yeah, they're so either through your PTAC bid search or the search you set up in SAM yourself, you can flag that. And again, I do research. I could show you what buyers are using the small business set aside for the past 3 years for Department of Interior, something like that, in your Naics code. Okay, and you can also address opportunities when they come out in SAM. SAM.gov replaced FedBiz Ops for federal opportunities. That will list the date they're due. It will list if it's a small business set aside, if it's a women-owned, et cetera, et cetera. So they're clearly marked on the proposals.
Sorry to jump in, Rich. I just wanted to emphasize, as you said, about the credit card purchases from a small business development perspective. We would highly encourage businesses prior to registering with SAM to ensure you are able to accept credit card payments. In this day and age, even if you traditionally have not used that type of purchasing in your business, or you are starting out new, it will help facilitate, make it easier for customers to buy, to pay you, and to transact effectively. So that is something to strongly consider having as a means of payment for your business prior to beginning the SAM registration.
So we're talking about being resourceful. You've done your research. These are some of the main things that we think you need and need to utilize to stay fit. I mean, while all this is going on, you decided to commit time to look at government contracting. You decided this is a good fit for you. The agency, again, it could be state agencies, state universities, information that comes across through your bid match search in PTAC may give you ideas that you didn't have before. But you have to continue to do your daily business as far as operations to make money, to survive. Okay, I think you all understand that. Don't give in. Stay in your swim lane. Stay committed to doing research and developing your capability statement. This should be part of your routine. Just like you need to exercise to stay fit as a person, you need to stay fit in these areas, and we think it's very important. Under the dynamic small business search, that is utilized by contracting officers when they do their market research. Make sure that profile of your company, and you populate that through your SAM registration, is very similar to your capability statement, very similar to the information you have on your website, showing your capability, showing your partners, showing your success stories, your press releases, et cetera, et cetera. Look at social media, local media constantly. Look at economic development leaders for ideas, assistance, to help make you more presentable, to make you more visible locally and maybe nationally, whatever it may be. There's a lot of ways to be resourceful, but again, stay true to yourself, and stay committed to what you're good at. It's not going to be worth it for you to get involved in something that's going to hurt your track record, or you're not going to have a great opportunity for success. And we think that's very important. Here is information about the capability statement. And again, you're going to have the capability statement, which is a company resume, one pager or front and back side. You're going to want to have 6 versions of this if you have 6 meetings at the Business Matchmaker. And it's important to get this right, to tell your story. So you're going to make sure that it's clear what your brand is, what differentiates you from the competition. You want to be able to show through your references, your past performance. You're a problem solver, so you're going to illustrate that in that past performance. And then on the side where I list on the highlighted green, a lot of information, the company data information that you need to be involved in. One of the biggest things that is really going to be emphasized moving forward is the Cmmc cybersecurity certification. You see it in the manufacturing arena, and you're going to see it stronger across the board in the coming months. And that's something all companies need to start looking at. It's not going to be an issue, but the basic self-assessment, the getting an understanding of it, is going to be something very important. Here is, the opportunity, and I list both the Ohio Business Matchmaker in November, and there's a tri-state, Ohio, PA, and New York PTAC are involved in a matchmaker December 7th and 8th, also virtual. Both of these programs are ideal opportunities to build relationships. And it can be virtual, it's still FaceTime. It's something you need to value, and it's something that is necessary for you to get that first step and a better understanding of where you fit and the people that you're trying to do business with. Also within that framework, you want to look for vendor days, industry days, networking, training, professional associations, things like that will help you see where you fit. And it's important to look for these opportunities of engagement and try to make sure that you're presenting yourself in a way that influences. The best thing you can do is have an impact on an agency, any type of agency, where your product or service is going to be emphasized in their next specification, in their next scope of work. One of my clients was looking at a state university bid, and it made it very specific what type of e-procurement program they wanted to be utilized for their promotional products. Well, my client had experiences with that e-procurement, and it was used by a lot of state universities in Ohio. From the simple standpoint, they bought the program, and they want to make sure that their contractors match up to that. Okay, and so if you take that added value approach, if you're involved in that, okay, if you do some work for, let's just say Department of Interior again, okay, there may be some type of language, some type of product service that's utilized across the board. And so getting into that Department of Interior is going to help you not just at the one locally, but that'll help you going across the nation. And again, understanding that you want to make sure that you have a good fit to what they're doing by the Naics Codes. They match appointments by Naics Codes, which is a great start. So take advantage of that, do your research, include a lot of that information prior to your meeting. I'm going back to, doing the research, looking at contracts that are going to be above 25,000, because those will be on sam.gov. That is, again, part of our bid match service, but you can look on that on your own. You can set up your search tool there based on Naics, based on PSC codes, looking at set-asides, et cetera, et cetera. Sources sought, requests for information, draft proposals. That is how agencies do their market research. So the sources sought, their request for information, they may, in the proposal, say, we are looking for women-owned small businesses only for this particular product or service. Please identify yourself and show your capability. Provide us with a 5-page capability statement by June 10th. That doesn't mean you're going to get the proposal, but they are doing their market research to see if they can get qualified offers from companies in that socioeconomic category. So if you in your searches, anytime your Naics code is going to be involved in a sources sought, and it matches up to whether it's just small business set aside or in your particular socioeconomic certified area, we encourage you to express immediately. Don't pass it over. Make sure you respond to express your interest and use that name for a future contact, even if they do not go through with the proposal. Okay, I think that's very important to understand. If that's in their goals to utilize, again, women-owned small business, veteran-owned, 8A, whatever it may be, in their goals, because they have to meet those various goals we showed earlier, the measurable goals, keep in contact with that and do some of your market research based on that information also. And again, we can help you with that. Also on the page, CSO, commercial special offerings, and OTAs, other transaction authority. These are, again, selective new ways of the government, federal government doing business to expedite the process or to utilize current innovative or advances made on the commercial side that they want to expedite through the government and avoid a lot of the bureaucratic processing that they're used to doing. And so we want you, again, to be familiar with those acronyms and look for those opportunities if you match up to that.
I just want to hop
Todd.
in and emphasize one aspect of something Rich said, which is the idea of how the PTAC can help in terms of sources sought and RFIs. Keep in mind that as you are doing this work, any opportunity is of value to you for many purposes. So if you see an RFI or a sources sought, a request for information or a sources sought that's a good fit that you would want to respond to, as Rich said, look for who's the contracting officer, what department of the agency is seeking this, what other Naics codes are referenced, what other information in this particular sources sought that you feel is a strong fit. Can you then go back to your PTAC advisor and say, I want more like that? Or can you tell me more solicitations that this contracting officer is on? Or what else does this division buy? So it's not as if you're finding these things, responding, and manage. Each time you find something that's a strong fit for your company, that is important information both for you, but also for you to take back to your PTAC advisor to refine your bid match service or to get another listing that's closer to the kinds of opportunities that would be a strong fit for your company.
I have a Matchmaker question. So is it possible to see who will be attending the Matchmaker days so we can identify in advance who we want to connect with? So I can kind of weigh in on that. Yes, you'll be able to do that once you register with the Ohio Business Matchmaker. Actually, a week before the event, there will be an email that goes out where it'll show you who you've been matched with based on Naics code. So that will be closer to the event, but you will be matched with buyers based on the Naics codes you put into your registration. Okay.
Jill, they have to schedule on their own. They do not get, based on their Naics codes, they're able to go in there and select from the the buyers that agree to be at the event and see what's available on their schedule. Isn't that correct?
I believe so. And Abby, if you're on, maybe you can provide clarification, but yes, you'll be able to choose slots of time. The slots of time fill up as other companies go in and get scheduled, but you won't be able to see it when you first register because a lot of firms will ask, why haven't I been matched with anyone yet? That comes closer to the actual event, but there's plenty of room for everyone. So I'm not real worried about anyone getting shut out. Yeah, so, and then I see where there be aerospace and military buyers, and we can address this more towards the end of the presentation, but yes, we always get participation from the Air Force, National Guard, DLA. So we get good representation from federal agencies. And we do have a hard stop at noon with this presentation. So Matchmaker questions we'll try and get to at the end.
Okay, the next couple of slides are really going to concentrate on the procurement classification codes that we think are vital to your understanding and to your research. You know, part of we've been emphasizing, you know, you have to have a good understanding of, you know, your vendor intelligence. You know, who are your competitors? How do you match up? Where do you list? As far as classification codes, that's very important. And then you take this information and you apply it to the agency intelligence, their buying patterns. Do they utilize your Naics PSC codes? Who are the top competitors, et cetera, et cetera. So, and this is, again, what I think is very important from the standpoint of classification codes, the rankings of importance. Naics codes, North American Industry Classification Systems, #1. The PSC codes, #2. Their related family member Federal Supply Code, which is a prefix for the national stock number. And then finally, the UN SPSC codes, which are utilized by the state of Ohio in the business gateway system in Ohio by and utilized for their certification program, which includes MBEs, WBEs, EDGE, and the veteran friendly. Numbers 5 and 6, not so much utilized as much across the board. We see them propping up, but they're more old school, and especially in federal procurement, those top 3 are very important. So again, we want to make you understanding Naics codes are going to be 6 digits. They're federal based. There's kind of like a 3-digit family. 541s are all professional, scientific, and technical services, as an example. 238s, you know, the first 3 numbers, 238 of 6-digit Naics code, are going to be specialty trade contractors. And again, you want to look at maybe doing some searches with Naics codes when you're looking at other companies. And one of the best sources for that is the dynamic small business search. PSC codes and FSC codes are the 4-digit. PSC service base, they're going to be alpha start. So I put the R, professional administrative management support, as an example. So that family of R's may be something that you utilize in your search. And then a more specific one, R703, is management support, accounting. FSC, again, these are the product base, are going to be numeric. And as an example, I use the medical, dental, and veterinary equipment, 65, and then the more specific, 6520, dental instruments. At the bottom, we utilize the UNSPSC codes, which is an 8-digit. This is for the state of Ohio. Parent category usually has the final 4 numbers of the 8-digit as zeros. using janitorial service as an example. And then the more specific floor waxing or carpet cleaning, which is 76111604. So again, do your research, utilize especially your PSC and FSC codes in your PTAC Fedmine research. I keep going back to that because that's what I use. Your counselor may be using something else, that's okay. And we use the 4-digit FSC also, and it could be 13-digit national stock number in the haystack searches. And here are some of the links that, again, we think are very important. The Naics Codes, the SBA site will give you what determines the small business with the Naics Code. It could be based on employees or annual receipts. There's a certain list of qualifying Naics Codes for the Women-Owned Small Business Federal Contracting Program that is the disadvantage, the Women-Owned Small Business Disadvantage Program. And then finally, when you are utilizing your PTAC bid match service, we utilize a lot of times the PSC first letter and the Federal Supply Code first 2 numbers, which is really the Federal Supply Group, 2 of the first 4 numbers of the code in the bid match search. We, again, can be more specific by utilizing the 4-digit, but it's a good starting point to just see what's out there and see where you fit by collecting more information at the start. So, again, the PTAC bid match service is ideal for early market research. You can always narrow it down. It's very easy for your PTAC counselor to update your keywords and your service codes in your bid match service. Don't hesitate to do that on a regular basis. Going back to the state of Ohio, I wanted to include their certification program. And again, there's the link for the UNSBSC codes. But the Minority Business Assistance Program, which is where the MBE, EDGE, WBE, and the Veteran Friendly, those 4 are all certifications there. The MBAC counselors are great resources to help you with that process from the standpoint of not only collecting the information, but nudging the people in Columbus once that information is being processed and being collected. The one link I have there, Ohio Checkbook, I use that a lot to show what agencies, cities, counties that are providing that information to the state. You can see what vendors are doing business. You can look at your competitors and again, look at different expenditures, and your PTAC counselor can help you with that state research also. So we give you an idea on the research that's necessary, the prep work. We want you to make sure you understand the classification codes on where you fit. Now it's starting to, it's getting closer to the time of looking at proposals. Proposals that are set aside small business, we think you should look at those first. The 3 areas that we emphasize, the statement of work, the instructions to the bidders, and then the selection criteria. And a lot of times, especially at the federal market, you're going to see past performance, required past performance, be right there, number 1 and 2 with price. Okay, so you may have the past performance from a state agency or a university, but they're going to be emphasizing federal experience, and that's going to make it your score not as strong. Okay, you can have the ideal competitive pricing, but that federal experience, again, that's why we really emphasize. A lot of companies start with the subcontracting path to get some of that experience. And also keep in mind, if you do passive, I have a contractor, their first contract was with Department of Agriculture. And after they got that contract, 80% of their search was with Department of Agriculture, because that particular service, you know, once they tapped into it, he was able to see that it's utilized across the country, and it's something that he had the past performance that he wanted to utilize to get more of those contracts. And it does work that way. And he's also been able to increase some of that contract amount by doing that. So please keep that in mind. Do you have the resources, the staff, the finance, and very critical time? You know, you don't want to go after a contract that you cannot dedicate your best team to, and you may, you know, again, have the resources available to you that you can partner up, where you may take a project management role and utilize staff from a partner. That would be a great thing to have available to you as you move into various contracts. The bottom of the page talks about the various vehicles, IDIQ, another acronym, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. A lot of these acronyms, again, you can look at that USA.gov site and start, you know, getting an idea what they make, what they mean, and getting familiar with that. You know, develop flashcards, get a lot of these acronyms so you start knowing what they mean. And there may be some other acronyms to that particular agency that you're meeting in November, you know, at the Matchmaker. So have a good feel for that too. GSA schedule I mentioned. There's also some state and university sites. The U.S. Communities Omnia Partners is one. Ohio has their own version of the GSA, both from state agencies, STS, state term schedules, and state universities in Ohio have their own catalog of contracts, cooperative contracts, inter-university council purchasing group. Your PTAC counselor can help you with all that. Be familiar with open market purchase orders. Do they accept credit cards? Again, not just federal, but a lot of state agencies, state universities, and cities also utilize a procurement card in their buying, and be familiar with all that and understand where it fits and make sure you can match up to meet those requests and demands on how to do business with them. When it comes to you know, reviewing bids, you really have to spend a lot of time on that. You know, as you do, you know, a lot of times we, as PTAC counselors, hey, I need a template for. There is no template. You have to be able to tell your story. You have to be able to convince someone that in writing that you have the knowledge, you have the capacity, and you have done this type of work previously. And so you have to be able to put that together. Once you put that language together, and you do it 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times, that's your template, because it's your company and you just cut and paste, whether it is a federal procurement or state procurement. A lot of the information is going to be similar, especially when you look at the instructions, and also with the idea of how do I match up to the search, you know, their search criteria. If you don't have it, you know, figured out, there's no reason you just submit a bid. I mean, it's that simple. We can help you put your information together. We can help you review it. We also think you should look at proposals. You know, you got to read it 2 or 3 times, but you really have to get an understanding prior to the RFP release. And again, through the federal market, that request for information, sources sought, industry days, those are opportunities to get that knowledge and get an understanding of when that bid's going to be released. The bids also go in cycles, whether it's federal or state, know their fiscal years. Federal, October 1st through September 30th. State of Ohio, July 1st to June 30th. So a lot of contracts and proposals end and start according to that fiscal year, that buying pattern. Be familiar with that. When you do the research, again, through Fedmine or on your own, and you have been flagging a particular proposal, know when it's going to expire, and also know that you have to start that relationship and be ready for that proposal if it's going to be released, November 1st or whatever it may be. But looking at different things, keeping your target, half the opportunities are posted on RFPs, only half. So you have to understand that is a critical way of doing business with the federal government, but only half are done that way because they have all these other vehicles, and they have SAT, they have sole source, they can do a set aside for an 8A company, et cetera, et cetera. So you really want to be familiar with how they do business, what vehicle they're using, and then again, when it comes time for proposal, whether or not you're capable of doing it.
I just want to jump in and clarify for the audience, when we talk about bid, no bid, that is a decision that you will be making as a company. So to clarify, what we're saying is that as you're reviewing these opportunities, as you understand the fit of a specific opportunity with what you have as a company, as well as your capability at that time and your capability as you foresee being able to deliver should you win that opportunity, which may be 6 months to a year after you submit the proposal, is where you as a company owner or a key person involved in government procurement will need to make the decision, do you go forward with devoting time and energy and company resources to completing the proposal, or do you stop and decide not to pursue that opportunity at this time? Over time, as you develop your government contracting and procurement customer focus, you can develop a repeatable process to do this that will help you make these bid, no bid decisions earlier and be more effective at developing the proposals, because your goal is to submit proposals with the strongest likelihood to win. And fundamentally, that means proposal needs to be compliant. And that's where, as Rich said, read through the requirements. If they say Arial 12-point font, 1-inch margins, 30 pages, your proposal needs to be Arial 12-point font, 1-inch margin, 30 pages or less. As well as compelling. You want to make sure that the customer understands your story and why, what value you would bring. And that takes some work. But as you do these more frequently, you will develop the kinds of assets. No two proposals of yours would look the same, but you may be able to repurpose information on your company, your past performance, and so forth, so that over time it becomes easier for you to respond to more of these proposals. So I want to encourage you that the decision to bid or no bid is something that you should look at in the context of all the work you have to do as a business, commercial and other government, and the technical subject matter experts and other folks you would have to pull off of doing billable work to help do these proposals.
So again, looking at RFPs, these are just some basic instructions that we want you to keep in mind. So you go through the RFP, you're going to read it a couple times. You want to create an outline before you get started of the RFP's instructions, so you don't miss anything. When you write it, kind of focus on one idea per paragraph. Keep it simple. Todd mentioned the 30 pages. You got to make sure you stay under that requirement. And again, on sources sought, there may be a 5-page minimum or whatever or maximum on that too. So you want to make sure you meet that. Don't go over. When I was at Youngstown State, when I was in charge of purchasing, if we said 30 pages, whatever 31 and on, we just threw it away. Okay, because we wanted to be fair to everyone. And the good stuff might have been at the end, who knows? But so you want to keep that in mind. And if they tell you it has to be in at a certain time, if it's late, it's not going to be acceptable. So you have to, you have to be ready for all of that. If you lose, request a debrief, get as much information as you can. There may be language in the proposal that tells you you only have a couple of days, 3 or 4 days to do that debrief. Federal proposals, they will list the archive date. Archive date is the date they plan on announcing the winner. So you want to flag that when you read the proposals. If you win, request a post-award meeting. You want to have that relationship. So far you've met with and talked with and responded to the contracting officer. Now it's time to spend time and get to know and understand the program manager, the person that's going to be involved with your contract on the day-to-day schedule. So you want that clarity and you want that relationship to start on a good note. So again, request that immediately. Within the framework of the manufacturing, they have DCMA, Defense Contract Management Agency. They are the go-between the manufacturer and the end user program manager. You may have to do first article testing, where they send a quality assurance person out to your manufacturing location and walk you through it and make sure you're doing it accordingly to the specifics. If there's something in the specifics that do not match, you want to make sure that the DCMA contract administrator sees that, and they have to go back to the contracting officer to update the language to make sure it can be done accordingly. It could be as simple as they listed the wrong serial number. I mean, it could be anything, So keep that in mind. And finally, the track record, the CPARs, that is where the contracting officer will score you. There are 87 references in the FAR about CPARs. So again, your track record should be important to you. And believe me, it's very important at the federal market, especially because they have that information provided. My understanding, the state of Ohio will have some type of references for contractors through the Ohio Buy program in the coming years, as soon as maybe next year. At least that's my information. I don't have 100%, but I think it's a good idea to have that. So be familiar with that, have a good understanding of that as you write your proposals. And
before you move
Todd.
on, Rich, I want to just share 2 best practices for our audience to consider as you're doing the proposal. One is, as Rich mentioned about doing an outline, there is a best practice of what's called a compliance matrix. And what a compliance matrix is basically a spreadsheet or a Microsoft Word table where someone goes through all the specific requirements of a particular proposal and lists who is responsible for making sure that the proposal you write matches that specific requirement. So it takes some work to pull together, but it is particularly helpful as you're going through a proposal process, especially when you're having other people proofread, that they can double check to make sure, hey, did you respond to this criteria? Did you make sure that your font was the right font and the size and so forth? Because as Rich said, if it's non-compliant, the extra pages can be thrown out. And even though it may be a challenge to do this, if you have empathy for the folks on the other side of these proposals, keep in mind that what they have to do is they have to take in these proposals and match them to these requirements and make sure they're compliant and so forth. Your job is to help their job be easier. But if they have 2 or 3 proposals, maybe they can read through all of them. If they have 30, they will look for any reason that a proposal is not compliant to not have to review it. So that's why that's critically important. And then this briefly, the second best practice about making sure you deliver on time is an acronym that I've come to use in my work, which is TBD, BIDID. And that stands for the business day before it's due, it's delivered. So whenever you have a proposal you're working on, and even a sources sought or request for information you're responding to, identify the day that it is due, track back to the business day before it is due, and set that as your goal to deliver the completed proposal. That will give you some leeway in the event of a computer system issue or a delivery issue, but also will show to the customer that you are the type of business that meets deadlines. And that, I think, is an important message, as well as it will help you manage the process.
I love that. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Joel.
Okay, so there's a couple of questions.
Okay.
Is there a specific place or site we can go to find companies that are looking for subcontractors?
Well, I mean, the subnet is a good place. When you are looking at the Matchmaker events, you want to talk to primes that you are looking for. You know, again, these primes should be looking for your Naics codes for the match. So you want to, again, talk to them, and again, always start with the small business liaison that we've made reference to. Again, as Todd mentioned, they had various titles.
But there's you have a slide for the subnet. I thought I saw.
Yes.
Can you go back to that slide real quick so she can, because there's a link on that slide. And the other question is, where can I find no bid contracts?
Well, again, if there's no award, and you know, they're agencies at any level can do what they want. Okay, so what you want to do is track it and track the contact person. So let's say you are tracking a opportunity, and it could be a source sought, it could be industry day where they're announcing something that they're looking at or looking for, or it could be a prime doing an event, as I mentioned earlier, that we get information about primes doing events with the Veteran Affairs. None of that is set in gold, set in stone. It is, they are looking, they are searching, just like you and I might be searching to buy a car. We might start our search 6 months, we may get close, then we pull back, then we look again, then we may look for a different type of vehicle. So I mean, you really don't. I think it would be foolish to check on or look for things like that. What you want to look for is, and again, in the manufacturing, they have reverse engineering opportunities where they have no one that's done a certain product or service for a couple of years, or you're following in an agency and you notice that a particular proposal is expiring in the spring of 2022. That doesn't mean they're going to send it out the same way. Okay, so you just have to stay on top of it and stay within your, we talk about your swim lane, staying within your industry, and stay focused on that. Because you can, you're going to spend a lot of time spinning your wheels looking for things that are not out there. So if they don't send out the proposal, you stay in contact, and you may even send a note and say, hey, did you consider looking at this from a small dollar contract through SAT instead of going through on market? Here's what I think I have to offer to meet this need. I mean, it's a point of discussion. I had a contractor a couple years ago get an award. They did not present, they didn't select someone. The fiscal year was almost over, and my client convinced the agency to give them a small dollar contract. It was less than $10,000 for a very particular assessment need that was part of that proposal. Okay, the original proposal that they did not select anybody. So, you take a shot like that, okay, I can do this part of it, or I can do this, and you move on, you know. And if they respond to you, that's awesome. But you know, there's no guarantee in any of that. And you know, again, going back to my Youngstown State days, there were times when we would do proposals, and when it came time to announcing the award, and a lot of times it was 30, 45 days later, the department changed their mind. The department didn't have the funding that they thought they were going to get, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So there's all kind of different reasons. We deal with a lot of innovative products, SBIRs, okay? There are some agencies that in the past 2 years really spent a lot of money and effort in getting new ideas through SBIR1s. Great, but the problem is because they maybe went too far, not all of those SBIR1s are going to get the 2s. So not all those, you know, great ideas, and they think they're going to advance, you know, are going to advance. So I mean, I'm gonna go to the final screen because I want to open up the questions. You know, the best thing I can say, and Todd, you know, he has his own consulting firm. He's been involved with different companies, but you have to continually build value in your product and service. I mean, you can't take it easy. You can't think you have it made. And that's necessary, in my mind, to position yourself for government contracting, government procurement. Keep in mind, they can throw bids out. They don't have to select anyone. They can select who they want. And what you have to focus on is, how do I keep developing, improving my product and service? How do I show my value, you know, so that when the proposal comes out, it is very specific that I can match up. As I mentioned, that one client who had that e-procurement experience that the state university was looking for, you know, your goal is to get these engagements, you know, through the matchmakers and through your committed time, phone calls. You have to be patient and persistent. But again, develop your product. Don't let your mind race through all this, you know, this information. You know, I mean, when you go through all, even after this 2-hour session, you know, it's like a headache waiting to happen. You don't need that. What you need to do is stay focused and focus on, you know, where you fit. If you have success, keep going down that lane. If you get a favorable response, stay with it. You know, if they don't call you back, that's a no, okay, or not yet. You know, you got to keep calling them. You got to be persistent. You know, there's no magic number to any of this. Ask for help. You know, build your resources as you go down the path. You know, you have to be able to, you know, assess: am I getting stronger? Am I getting a better understanding? Am I getting closer? You know, just like when you go shopping, you know, is this something that is me? Is it my company? What do my, you know, if you have 2 coworkers, ask them what they think. And again, constantly look to build your resources. It takes a good 7 years or so to build your company. That same amount of time you have to utilize to build your resources and your understanding and your partners. So when that opportunity presents itself, you can dive into it. Most companies, it takes, you know, 12 to 18 months to get their first federal contract. Might take, you know, 9 or 10 attempts to even get an understanding, let alone a meeting for 10 minutes. That's again why these, you know, these meetings at the Matchmaker, you know, we emphasize it for a simple reason. It's going to help your knowledge, and it's going to help you get a better understanding, and hopefully, you know, you get to start developing a relationship that will lead to a contract. So I'm going to stop there. Todd.
So I just wanted to add on Rich's comment about a headache waiting to happen. Yes, this was a lot of information as you embark on this journey. There are a lot of things that will be a challenge, but please, if that is an aspect, if that's a metaphor of this experience, know that there is headache relief available to you. That's what the PTAC program, the SBDC, SCORE, the SBA, Ohio Department of Development, we exist to help you manage this process. And as you're trying to understand how this will work, one thought is that the PTAC can help you see how government contracting can sustain your business. Your Small Business Development Center and SCORE and SBA can help you understand how your business can sustain your efforts to do government contracting. Working together in this partnership, our goal is to help you have a successful business in Ohio. There's never any guarantees, but our goal is to help you make the best decisions as the expert on what you do so that you can find opportunities where you can deliver products and services to customers, potentially including government customers. This has been a challenging time for a lot of businesses, the global pandemic and a lot of these types of experiences, but you are on this webinar today and you are listening to this webinar because you believe that you have something of value to deliver to the customers, and those customers including our, our city, our state of Ohio, and our nation. And so while this is daunting in a lot of steps, I just want to leave you with the idea that this is manageable. There are companies in Ohio that have successfully grown with government contracting. And with the assistance of the free and low cost resources that are available to you, please know that you are not alone in this journey. Thank you.
So, thank you, Todd. On the screen right now is a Fedmine report, and I will send out the slides to the everyone, and that'll have Todd and I's contact information too. But I wanted to share this. It's a basic report through this. Fedmine is the research tool your tax dollars pays for. It combines 14 procurement sites from the federal market. Okay, so a lot of things that you may see through, like USA spending, you're going to see through the sam.gov. That's incorporated in this site, and it's really easy to do these reports. And so again, take advantage of that or whatever your PTAC counselor research tool that they utilize. But I wanted to show this, and it's a very simple search. It was done for the last fiscal year. The state of Ohio is the headquarters of the company, so we wanted Ohio companies only. They did $4.21 billion in federal procurement. You can see top right-hand corner. That included 1,820 companies. We have other companies, and not every company is in PTAC, and we have other companies that do just state work, just do university work. They don't do any federal work. We have clients that do work that is outside of Ohio. Okay, this federal work, that it is federal work outside of Ohio too, but the headquarters of the company is in Ohio. We can also do a report, place of performance in Ohio. But so you have, real quick, you have top 10 prime contractors. 2 of them are Battelle based joint ventures, number 1 and number 5. Battelle's in Columbus. And then you see the other companies. Goodrich is on there. Scrolling down, you can see within the framework of the work, 4.2 and 3.05 of that is performed in Ohio. Full and open competition. The 4th slide, and you can see number 2 right away, not competed. Certain vehicles they could use. This 4th one is competed under SAT. again, something as a small business you should be interested in. Small business, other than small business, you can see other than small business, the big boys did 59%. And I didn't want to, wait a minute, where's the set aside? Oh, there it is. So small business set aside, and you can see the various categories. No, not set aside quite a bit. They can do what they want. Remember that, folks. And then here are the top 200, I think, on this sheet. So, and you can see on the left side of that, the service disabled link. Again, a lot of good information at your fingertips that we like to share with our clients.
Rich, is it possible to run a report of companies and certain Naics codes that won contracts in the previous
Absolutely.
year?
Yeah.
And then another question, can we get the report that you're showing everyone?
Yes.
It's going to be in the slide deck. The slides are going to post on the Ohio Business Matchmaker website in about a week, along with the recording.
So, you can send me an email if you want that report. And if you're a PTAC client, I can run other reports for you too.
Okay, I'll put your email. It's Delicio R. What's your email?
I mean, yeah, but it will not be. So today's Wednesday, and next week I'm not in, so it's going to be when I return. Just
Okay.
so, yeah. But I mean, they can send the request now. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
And I pulled down my slides. Wait a minute, where is it? So, any more questions?
All right, everybody, it's if anyone has any other questions, just put them into the chat.
And again, I want to emphasize that our network in Ohio, there's Todd's information. I feel very strongly about our network in Ohio. Todd and I do a lot of work together. I work with other SBDCs. I have, where I'm located, I get to work with the SBA in Columbus, the SBA in Cleveland. I work with a lot of economic development people throughout the state. Our small business support from Columbus, Jim Lakely, that we all have worked with over the years, and from Athens with Sharon Hopkins and the people down in Athens that support our day-to-day. I mean, it's very important. It keeps us fresh. It keeps us constantly looking at the changing environment and the data. And there's a lot of things, we try to keep it as simple as possible today. There's a lot of things we didn't even touch. That's for your individual one-on-one training, understanding, and development. And going through the process, it may not lead to a federal contract, but it will help you develop. I think it will help you develop a better understanding of where you fit and where you can have success at the government level. And if nothing else, you're going to maybe develop relationships to lead to work as a sub or as a partner. And there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, thank you. I haven't seen any further questions, just a lot of thank yous and just kudos for the presentation.
Yeah, my screen kept going off, so that's why I covered up. But I do a lot of Zoom meetings, and anyone's invited to see me in Akron at the Bounce. It's a beautiful building. So if you're up this way and you just want to talk, and you're a PTAC client and you're a taxpayer, I'll talk with you.
You're a taxpayer. That's good. Location.
Right.
Yeah. Where in Akron, I guess?
At the 526 South Main Street. No, seriously though, I mean, I rely on the SBA, SBDC, and other PTAC counselors in Ohio. I do not have all the answers, and it's in anything. It's always good to get a second opinion and to have the resources throughout the state. Take advantage of it. Be conscious and respectful of other people's time. But seriously, if spending 15 minutes or being involved in a Zoom meeting, I have a meeting scheduled early November. I am having Bill Cox, one of our associate directors, sit in with me with the client, because I think Bill's expertise will help them. And I do that a lot, and we have, like I said, great team. We got Tony Griffin back mainly to help our manufacturing crowd. So it's all good, folks.
All right, well, thank you very much. I hope that everyone has a really good rest of the day. And again, the recording will be posted on the Ohio Business Matchmaker website under the webinars tab. And you can also go to the website to see what other webinars you might be interested in, as well as to register for the event. And there is a section on the website that as more buyers register, that section gets updated so that you can see who's currently registered. I will tell you, however, that the buyers really wait until it's pretty close to the event to register. So just once again, thank you for your time. And those of you that are attending the Doing Business with the State, you have about an hour. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Best wishes
Thank
for your
you.
continued success.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.